Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode webinar here at Tastemaker Collaborative. If you're familiar with Tastemaker Conference, you know one of our core values is education, and we love to offer free resources for everyone to learn and grow in their business. So we are so lucky today to be joined by Shannon Avery, who will also be speaking in our Business and Revenue Growth 701 track, the advanced track at Tastemaker Conference in January. Shannon has generously offered to join us here in the collaborative to offer some pre-learning for free to our entire community, and we are so excited to dive into this topic with her today. So Shannon, thank you. We're so grateful to have you here. And to give you a quick intro, Shannon is a dedicated financial advisor who specializes in serving bloggers and influencers nationwide. As a fiduciary, did I say it right?
Fiduciary, you got it.
She prioritizes her clients' best interests, offering tailored strategies to achieve their financial priorities and goals. Recognized as an expert in investment strategy and management, Shannon is also known for working collaboratively with clients' trusted tax and legal professionals to provide impactful, long-lasting financial planning and guidance. So welcome, Shannon. Would you like to say anything else or a quick hello to further introduce yourself?
Thank you. I was like, wow, you nailed that. I don't know where you got all that info, but you definitely were scraping social media or something to find all of that out. So you did a
Our
great
homework. Thanks. Well, we do our homework and we're so grateful for you. I just adore Shannon. I've gotten to know her really well, and she's someone that I knew had to be at Tastemaker Conference. And so we reached out and we just thought she'd be a lovely addition to the event. So let's get started. Shannon, let's start with a big question. What do you see as the biggest financial challenge that food bloggers face, particularly when when they start turning their passion into a business?
That's a great question. I think one of the very first things that I see is when people have to make that mind shift from this is my hobby to this is my business, and really thinking about the blog as a business. And you know we all have talents and things that we're really good at or that we love, and I know a lot of my clients who are bloggers and influencers started it as a hobby, or kind of fell into it and started sharing creative content, and it took off over an amount of time, and then they started to realize, wow, this this is growing, and what do I do with it? And so I think making that mind shift from hobby to business can be tricky. So I do think that that is one of the things. Also, just the unpredictability of that monthly revenue. Right? We have all of these different revenue streams that we're tapping into. So that fluctuating income is something that can be tricky to navigate, especially in the beginning when you're starting to make it a business. That's one thing. And then another tricky thing that I think people run into is just not having clear financial goals when they're making that passion a business. You've got to solidify some financial goals, get those down on paper, and articulate those to yourself at least, or someone else, an accountability partner or something like that. Just having those clear goals in mind. And another thing is just how your taxes become more complicated, making sure now you're self-employed, so you have self-employment taxes, and you might have estimated filing, tax payment filings that need to happen, and those sorts of things. So I think those are the top things that come to mind for me when I'm thinking about bloggers starting out and switching from hobby or passion to business.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking about not having clear financial goals and balancing those things, can you talk a little bit about financial clarity and why that's crucial for bloggers who want to grow and sustain their business?
Yeah, sure. So, when we're talking about financial clarity, the thing is, all that means, it's a fancy word, it's kind of a buzzword out there that we hear, and all it means is that you have a clear understanding of what income is coming in, what expenses you have, what your debt is, what your goals are, and just your overall financial health. So, some people think it's just about, am I profitable or not? But it's really much more than that. Financial clarity is making sure that you're being strategic with your money. And this is something that people hear me say all the time. Every dollar has a job, and it should have a job before it hits your bank account, right? So you've got that already solidified in your mind. That way, when you are wanting to scale and grow your business, you have to understand your monthly cash flow, or you're not going to be able to make informed decisions, when you're scaling. And then, yeah, I mean, there's all these new things. I have my clients come to me all the time and say, there's this new software, or there's this website upgrade, or, I've been approached to do a cookbook and things like that. And you can make much more wise investment choices with your dollars when you know what every dollar is doing month to month. And that also helps you to navigate the pitfalls that could come along the way. I mean, everybody has an idea, right? Everybody has an opinion about what you should do with your money. And so if you know what each dollar is doing and you have that clarity, then as those things come at you and somebody says, "Oh, my person said do this," or, this expert said to do that, when you know the jobs that your dollars are assigned to, then you can make really informed decisions. And, life is going to throw all of us curveballs. So being able to navigate those curveballs is much less stressful, I would say, when you know what each of your dollars is doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's probably some even more common pitfalls that food bloggers should be avoiding. Do you have any suggestions on what those are?
Yeah, that is a really interesting question because we're always talking about scaling and growing, right? As bloggers, I know my clients, that is what we're talking about constantly. And one of the pitfalls that I've seen is it's so exciting to scale and grow. And there are so many resources to help us do that. So I think sometimes I see bloggers pressure themselves to scale too quickly. And so then what ends up happening is they're maybe going into debt for new equipment, new technology, and maybe they're hiring people too quickly. Oh, so and so has a video editor, and they have a recipe tester, and so maybe I need that too for my business. And so they tend to scale more quickly than the revenue has come up to. And so I think that can be a pitfall, just getting stuck in the excitement of it and kind of going in over our heads. Another thing that I think is a pitfall is just not managing that cash flow month to month. Maybe spending the money in your mind before it hits, because, bloggers know what their paycheck is going to be well ahead of time. And a lot of times I see the pitfall of spending those dollars mentally before they even hit the bank account. And then, of course, I already hit on it a little bit, but just the tax implications. Um, that is something that I have seen, kind of kick people in the butt a little bit because they don't set aside tax money every single month, in a money market or something like that, where it's earning some interest, but it's like out of the account, it's not touchable. That's a really good idea because taxes can sneak up on you, especially if you're starting to grow and that revenue is getting bigger faster. Just forgetting to file an estimated quarterly tax payment, and those kinds of things, I think can catch up with us too. So just overlooking the tax implications of our decisions as well.
Mhm. No, I think that's great. And that's a good reminder to me because I pay mine annually and they're just sitting in a savings account that says taxes. I should have put them in a money market. Like,
But
oh yeah, I probably should
at least they're there. That is the important part.
there, but they could have been earning interest. So see, there's a little nugget right there. If you have a tax account, switch it to a money market with Shannon and earn some interest. Why not make money on your taxes, right? I think that's great. And then I
Take
also
the leftover and go to Disney World. Like,
Oh, that's perfect. I
yeah.
also love that you talked about not scaling too fast. My friend Kira, who was the 4-time ever Cupcake Wars champion on Food Network, and she did it all gluten-free. She had the teeniest, tiniest bakery in Oregon. And she said, you do not scale until you are busting at the seams. And her bakery was busting at the seams. And that's when she scaled. And it was a wild success with her new location because she did it the right way. And so I always love that reminder because like you said, so much of the world is telling us do this, do this, do this, do this, but we have to take it gently and slowly for ourselves. And I've also loved our friend Yumna owns an oat company. And I just love her perspective too. She debuted at Fancy Food Show with her product, and she's a blogger at Feel Good Foodie. And she said, I've learned that it's important to not scale too quickly because I want to make sure to provide the quality product to everyone who wants it. And I was like, oh, that's so smart. So I like the mindset most business people, smart business people, are already catching on to that. We get excited, like you said, but I think that's a good thing to remember. So, without giving too much away, can you give our listeners a sneak peek into your session at Tastemaker Conference 2025 and what they can expect to learn?
I am so excited about this. I cannot tell you, like, I am dreaming about Tastemaker Conference right now. I am really energized. So for months, I have been working on an exclusive workbook for Tastemaker Conference. So every attendee of the class is going to have this workbook. We're going to go through it together. It's full of activities. It's full of really thought-provoking questions. It's going to make you dig deep and ask yourself some hard questions, or even some things that you've never thought about. So super excited about the workbook that everybody is going to get. Also, I asked my back office IT team if they would work on an app for me. So we're going to be debuting the app. It's going to be a super fun game that we're going to do on day 2 of class. And then I decided I wanted to design something specifically for my food bloggers. And a lot of my clients are going to be at the conference, so I'm really excited to get to visit with everybody. And I wanted to bring a special gift. So I designed a special gift, especially for food bloggers. Everybody's going to go away with one of those. And then all of these, so I'm telling you about the takeaways, but the tangible takeaways, we're going to dive deep into these financial strategies that work really well for bloggers and influencers. And we're going to have just a lot of good information there that I'm going to try to make not too boring. And in the end, everyone is going to walk away with the beginnings of their own personal financial plan. And so I'm really excited to see the development and the different ideas that people have because, when it comes to financial planning, all of our goals are different. Our dreams are different. Our family situations are different. Our blogs are different, right? I mean, I don't have blogs, but you all have blogs, and they're all different and unique and beautiful. And that is the way that your financial plan should be too. So everybody's going to start their financial plan while we're at Tastemaker.
I love that. And how exciting and how generous of you to provide the gift and working on an app and the workbook. We feel so grateful that you've put so much time and energy into this. I know the first day is a lot of learning and the second day is more of that hands-on, but it sounds like you're going to be doing a lot of that both days, which is wonderful. I know you can't tell people, but I believe I can, that Shannon is my financial advisor. And I was told about her from another blogger, and they've just had so multiple bloggers who've had such great success with her that I reached out, and she's made financial planning so fun. I was scared because financial advising is something A, we haven't done, and B, seemed like me. you know? But when I got on my call with Shannon, I was so excited about our path and the things that we're doing both with my business and then our personal, family plan. And it got me thinking because we talked about dreams and we talked about what things my husband and I and our family wants to achieve. And I feel so empowered by you, Shannon, because before, and you know this, my favorite thing you told us was we have 5 children between the ages of 4 and 15. So I remember you saying, I can tell that you two think that, are worried that you may not be doing enough. But I want to tell you, this is the busiest and most expensive time of your life. And that was a huge relief off of our shoulders because we really did think, oh my gosh, we're so behind. And we set out this gorgeous, beautiful, that's probably the wrong word, but beautiful pathway for us through 90 years old that made my husband and I feel so happy and so excited about all of our small goals along the way. So I just want to personally give that social proof and attest to the fact that I'm excited about everything now of financial planning and all of our goals. So thank you, Shannon, for making it fun, achievable, letting us dream, but also giving us like, hey, this needs to happen if you want to do this, or you've been wonderful. So I just want to stop and say that for
Mm,
a second. So,
Thank you. Well, and I love that you said, because you know how passionate I am about you thinking about yourself at 80 years old, sitting on your front porch, rocking your great grandchildren, and what kind of life did you give that woman, that 80-year-old you? Because you're building her life then now.
mhm,
And, just being able to hear you say, and thank you so much for that, because, another thing that I'll just share with the audience is when you're a fiduciary, it's like a doctor, right? Or an attorney. Like, you cannot tell people who your clients are. All I can say is my clients are bloggers. And, if my clients tell people that they're my clients, then that's great. And so I really appreciate you having shared that, and for just your love and support. And I'm so glad that you're enjoying what we're doing.
course, of course. I just want the blogger community to know that you are a wonderfully successful and financial advisor, and I am excited for them to meet you. So, with that being said, I'd love for you to tell them about how attending an in-person session empowers bloggers like at Tastemaker to make smarter financial decisions and ultimately thrive in this business, which is a little scary when there's constant changes with Google and updates. And I swear every 2 months, they're like, there's a Google update. And you're like, really? Another one? Or something. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I always laugh because I mean, for 10 years, I've been hearing about the blog apocalypse and that it's happening next week. Okay. So everybody is, I hear that so regularly because things are changing so much. And so much hinges on updates and changes and things like that. And so, coming to an in-person session like Tastemaker Conference, it's just a really unique way for creators to gain knowledge from financial experts and other experts who work with people like you, specifically like you. And, being able to network with other like-minded people is also really beneficial. You get really good gas from each other. So, yeah, you're attending a session with me, but you're attending a session with 100 of your peers who live a similar life to you. And that can be really energizing as well. And then just walking away with those actionable steps that we can all take, as we're leaving. I mean, those hands-on activities, we can't do those virtually. So it's nice to be able to get together and kind of dig our hands into things. And then I have found when I teach classes and conferences, or I speak at events and things like that, the feedback that I get is I'm inspired now. I'm motivated now. You can feel the energy of the people around you. And I think that being in person and doing those in-person sessions is it's valuable from a motivational and inspirational standpoint too. Not to mention all the time that we're going to have outside of class. I mean, you know this, I'm going to be there from Sunday afternoon to Wednesday morning. Anybody is welcome to pull me aside and ask me questions and bounce things off, or email me or call me ahead of time. I have had bloggers that saw me on the agenda and they're like, hey, I want to talk to you before you get busy after the conference. So, I am available for questions anytime. And I don't have to be your financial advisor specifically. You can bounce questions off of me. I'm always going to be honest that way. But us being in person there at the conference is just going to give us a lot of opportunity to chit chat. So I think that's invaluable.
I love that. And the first question, because my husband is the opposite of me. If you remember Shannon, his first question when I told him we were going to talk to you is, how much is this going to cost?
Right.
I was like,
Right.
not going to cost anything. And he's like, surely it will. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. So I would like for you to let our audience know a little bit more about that exploratory, opportunity at Tastemaker, but also if they schedule a call with you, do you charge hourly? Does that cost? So I'm sure they're
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. So no, I do not charge like no, not disparaging attorneys. I have family members who are attorneys. I love them. But I the way that I get paid is by managing money and making my clients make money. The more money my clients make, the more money I make. And so you don't get an invoice from me, you don't get a bill, you're not on the clock when you call me or email me or anything like that. The reason that I do what I do is because I want to be able to bring value to people. I'm spending at least 40 hours in this chair every week, and I really want it to matter. And so, yeah, any questions, anything like that, you're not going to get a bill.
that was the main thing when my blogger friend told me. She's like, she does all of this, and our first calls, and before I even started making a lot, all of this didn't cost anything. I was like, what? And that's what really got me, is that I was like, that's incredible. She's providing so much. And honestly, from what my friends have talked about, and I'm just getting started with this, but they wouldn't have even been able to make what they're making in that capacity without your advisor, your financial advising. And so they're like, oh, it's so easy. It's great. So, anyways, that was a huge thing for me. I'm just going to answer. I know Garrett asked, I believe it was Garrett. Yeah, Garrett asked out of curiosity. Okay, so Daphne put that there. He was wondering how much Tastemaker costs. We only have a few tickets left, which we'll talk about at the end, but I know people are getting excited now to come meet you, Shannon. But yes, we have a few tickets left and the information is there. Daphne has dropped that. So thank you so much for clarifying that, Shannon, because I do think that is, if people are more frugal and, being mindful of cost. And I love that, because then you go into it knowing that you truly are there to help them. And of course, this is your job too. But one of my favorite things when you talked about why you do this, I know personally one of the reasons you do this is because you believe in people. You see the potential. Like we talked about this. I know where I'm at, you know where I'm at, and you've seen the potential and you know where I'm going. And I love that you have that gift, because a lot of times for food bloggers, it can be very difficult to see that far forward. It's very hard. And so with sitting down with you and you're like, okay, this is the potential I see for you. This is what's going to happen. It makes almost, one thing you told me that I loved was when you did this with another gal, after you did that, every morning when she was like, used to be kind of more tired and getting up and working, she was excited to get up and work because she wanted to hit those goals that you had believed that she would achieve. And so I feel the same way now, and my mindset has changed a lot since working with you. So thank you for seeing the potential in our community and in individuals in our community. Um, so with that, we're going to just dive into a couple more questions. I want to talk about financial planning for Q1 specifically. So as we head into the new year, what would be your advice for setting realistic financial goals for Q1?
Okay, this is such it's very I'm passionate about this because Q4, we all know what Q4 looks like. And it's so exciting. It's for many the busiest, but the most rewarding revenue of the year. And I think that a mistake that we make is we go into Q1 with this good gas of Q4 was so amazing and my paychecks in January and February are so good. And it's kind of, you become deflated as we go into Q1, Q2. And so do not make that mistake, my friends. Q1 is going to be just fine. And do you know why? Because we're going to set aside some money from Q4 and we're going to use that for our expenses, for our scalings, for our growth opportunities that are inevitably coming at us in Q1. We're putting a little nest egg aside for that. So Q1 is going to be fantastic because we're thinking about those dollars right now and we're giving them a job of being there in Q1 to help us continue to grow and scale and meet those different needs that we're going to have. So, don't set your expectations for Q1 or 2 based on your revenue from Q4. Your revenue in Q4 is what is empowering you to continue to grow and move forward in Q1 and Q2. So, and whatever you do, when you're thinking about goals, everybody's thinking about goals right now for the new year. Someone else's goals do not have to be your goals. You are an individual person, and if someone's like, oh, my goal this year is to get a cookbook deal. And you're like, oh, I mean, I've had bloggers who have done cookbooks, trust me, and it is so much work. And I have some that have been approached to do cookbooks many times, and they're like, I am not up for that, And so your goals don't have to mirror other bloggers' goals. And I would say, taking that further, your financial strategies, your path that Candace talked about, it doesn't have to look like somebody else's path because you're not them. And so just make sure that you're looking at your financial situation individually. Be honest with yourself about all the things that you see. You would be surprised at the number of people who meet with me for the first time and they don't tell me all the things because they're ashamed or something. I am a money doctor. So lay it out for me and lay it out for yourself, right? And make sure that you're telling yourself all the truth about your finances and how you think about money. The way that we were raised or the experiences that we've had with money, that creates our perception of money and it's different for everybody. So, and really, as you're setting those goals, make sure you can measure them. Give it a number. Is it a 20% growth of, email capture? Is it, make sure you put a number on those goals as you're going into Q1 and just stay reasonable for that and challenge yourself to grow in a sustainable way. Don't put yourself under the pressure of exploding. I hear people use that word all the time. I hate it. You don't want to explode. That's going to kill you. Just make sure, like you were saying, Candace, that you're growing in this very sustainable, peaceful way. It doesn't mean that you're not working or it's not busy, but you don't want to run around like your hair's on fire either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's so smart. I just happen to have a best friend in this community who is a food blogger as well. It's pretty nice, actually. If you don't have one, I highly recommend finding one, which I know many of the bloggers you work with, their best friends are also other food bloggers because there's few people who understand this community. And we were just talking about that. And I was really excited for 2025 to be the year that I do my second cookbook. I did one 10 years ago in the traditionally publishing route. We did a cookbook with Barnes & Noble, with a tour. It was so fun. But now the self-publishing is very exciting. And when I sat down, she was so great with me and she empowered me, but also she talked about the truth with the profit margins. And the more books you buy, the higher your profit margin is. But you have to have so many followers. It's kind of a numbers game too, And so we talked about that, and we made a smart business decision. My mom and I do our cookbook together to wait till 2026. And that was a hard thing because I in my head had already planned for 2025. But I feel so much peace in that decision because now I have the entire year of 2025 to work on those recipes and make it great. And I think part of what you say too with making these smart decisions, and which my friend said, she goes, make sure that when you do put out a product, it's the best possible product so that you can be proud of every single thing in it. There's no mistakes, there's no problems. You've recipe tested so many times that you can make it in your sleep. And so I think, like you said, with the explosion, we tend to lack the quality that we want, that people need to trust. And so it's better to see slow and steady wins the race, that old, saying, right? So I love that and I appreciate that. So with that being said, Shannon, how can food bloggers align these goals with their overall business strategy?
Well, so when I'm thinking about business strategy, I guess I always add an IES on that, because it's business strategies, right? So there's going to be a number of those. Let me let me break this down. I'll give you one example, okay? Because this is one of those things you and I were kind of talking ahead of time, and I was like, all of these different financial topics, you could go down a rabbit hole forever. So I'm going to give you one example, if that's okay, of one business strategy and how you can align that with a financial goal. Okay, so let's just pretend like you've decided that one of your business strategies for this year is to really focus on cost control and profitability. And that's going to be a big focus of you as one of your strategies. Then what you're going to want to do is have a financial goal that aligns with that strategy. So that goal that you have for your business, you want to have a financial goal that kind of lines up with it. And like I said, you've got to put numbers to it. You've got to put some kind of measure on it. And so you could say, for example, I want to reduce my unnecessary expenses by 10 to 15% in the first quarter or in the first half of the year. Give yourself a deadline, give yourself a timeline and a number to shoot for. But then, you have to also think about, how am I going to do that? And so maybe you're going to switch to more cost-effective tools. Maybe you're going to streamline some processes, or maybe you're going to consolidate some things and maybe have one, if you have a VA, maybe the VA is taking on a couple of projects that maybe you had different people doing and that sort of thing. So aligning a business strategy with a financial strategy as well is a really good way to kind of track that. And then, but I always tell bloggers, don't have more than 3 financial strategies per year that you're working on. It's so easy to have a list of 15, and you're trying to check all of those boxes, but just really dig in deep with yourself, have a deep conversation with yourself and ask, what are the 3 max strategies that I'm going to work on in my business this year, and give them a correlating financial strategy to go with them.
I love that. And those can be very simple. You don't have to, I think sometimes when we think of reducing our, expenses by the 10 to 15%, we're like, okay, I have to get rid of this and this and this and this. No, no. One of the things that I did just barely that's going into Q1 to achieve this goal is I took an expense that I had that I was on a higher tier and just moved down to slightly smaller tier because I figured I actually can get by with that amount. I don't actually need that much. And it even translated into my family. I didn't need the higher car wash pass. I did the smaller one, Shannon. And so so it can be small wins like that, but it really makes you look at everything different. Like I was sitting there ready to renew my car wash pass. And I was like, how many times did I use my car wash pass this year? I actually didn't use it as I could save $100 if I did this. And so anyways, I just thought that that was so great because it was because of our conversations and the education that I've received that $100 is $100,
Mhm.
and that can go towards a lot of different things. So the 10 to 15% goal is a great one. And it doesn't mean cutting things necessarily. Sometimes it means just reducing to something that's more manageable for you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, Shannon, many bloggers set ambitious resolutions for the new year by sticking to them, but sticking to them can be challenging, kind of like what we talked about. So, what financial habits or routines would you suggest for staying on track with those goals that we just talked about?
You have to set a date with yourself. Put it on the calendar, and you need to do this. I mean, I'm a nerd, I'm a number nerd, I'm a money nerd. So I'm doing this weekly. You do not have to do that, but at least every other week, make a date with yourself, put it on the calendar, and hold yourself accountable. So just do a little check in with yourself. Be real. And then something that I don't know why more people don't do, automate recurring payments. Like automate those, credit card payments or car loans or things that, like, automate as much of that stuff as you can. We have the technology to do it. I don't know why more people don't do it. So do that, but also automate your savings. So have something, even if it's $10, have something go to savings automatically. Just get in that habit, just start it. And then setting aside money for taxes. I am such a stickler on this because I've seen too many bloggers get stuck in a very stressful situation and have to take out a personal loan or something like that because they didn't set aside money for taxes. So do that. Have that be one of the things that you do right away. Tracking income and expenses. I know people hate that. It's the B word, budget. Um, a lot of people hate it. I tell you, it is empowering and liberating, and it really does help you make more money. I know that that sounds crazy. I promise you it's real and true. Track your income and expenses. Start to get in the habit of that. And if you're coming to the class at Tastemaker, start doing it now because it's really going to help you if you've got a little leg up on it for a couple of the exercises that we're going to do. So start looking at that and celebrate milestones. If you pay off a car, you need to go get a peppermint shake at Chick-fil-A. Okay. Like you must celebrate the milestones along the way, those financial milestones, and set what they're going to be. When I have clients whose accounts hit $1 million, they get a mug with a comma on it. That's it. But to them, they know what that means, right? They know that they have, well, it's two commas, but it's like they get that comma means we just crossed $1 million, and so you have to celebrate those things and know what you're working for. It goes back to what we were saying in the beginning of this meeting is setting those goals, because then they're always out there like the little carrot, on the string, just they're always out there on your mind.
I think that's so smart. I think those are really great ones. And I also love the celebrating milestones and the comma mug. I think that's great. So, the new year often brings opportunities for growth, but it can also bring unexpected expenses. So, how can bloggers balance being assertive and going after growth opportunities while staying prepared for financial uncertainties in Q1?
Okay, you have to have an emergency fund. Everybody needs to have an emergency fund. And a credit card doesn't count. That is not an emergency fund. So just making sure that you prioritize that. So maybe you don't have the emergency fund today, but make that a goal, make that a priority, and just start socking away into that, because that really is going to be the thing when the wheels fall off, as they inevitably do in some place or other in your life. Maybe it's not your business, maybe it's your personal life. My daughter at college had to go to the emergency room last night. So I was thinking, I wonder how much that's going to cost. And so, that emergency fund is going to really bring you a lot of peace of mind as those things start to happen. Set limits with yourself, because you're wanting to scale and grow, but you have to set a limit for yourself when you start something. It's kind of like I tell people, if we're buying a stock, for example, we're buying a stock today and we're buying it at this price. the day that we buy it, we talk about when are we selling it. Because otherwise, you either get greedy because you're like, oh, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. I'm just going to keep it, even if it's not wise to keep it because it's kind of hit its value projection. And now I'm starting to speak finance. I don't want your eyes to glaze over, but that's what you have to do when you are budgeting in your business for expenses is you have to say, I am committing to this new software. I'm going to do a test and learn on it. I'm going to do it in a trial period. And if it doesn't do XYZ for my revenue, I'm getting rid of it. So you just have to be that deliberate when you make those decisions. Have your exit already determined. If this doesn't happen from this new growth tool that I'm investing in, whatever it is, then I'm cutting my losses and I'm getting rid of it. And you talk to yourself about that ahead of time. And then make your financial decisions based on your cash flow, not hope. I love hope in every area of your life, but when we're talking about income, hope doesn't count. It has to be actual cash flow. And so make sure that the decisions that you're making are based on real numbers. And then track your ROI, your return on investment constantly. Always be watching those things that you're paying for, those monthly charges that are hitting your business card. Make sure that you're paying attention to what the ROI is on that particular subscription or service or whatever it is, so that you know when to just cut it off
I
or
think
add
that,
more, like you were saying.
yeah, I think that's great. And I think it's really important to just look at those small things. And I like the tracking the ROI, especially, and letting go of things that are not serving you. So just in closing, for those who may feel overwhelmed by the financial side of their business, what's the first small step they can take in the new year to start gaining clarity and control?
Candace, I'm going to say the B word again. It's budget. It's budget. We have to budget. It can be overwhelming. It can feel overwhelming. And it can feel boring and limiting and all of those nasty words that, we want to put to a budget. But I am here to convince you that it's liberating, it's empowering. Like you were saying, it helps you sleep at night. You know where you are. There are no question marks when you have a budget. And do things come up that blow your budget up? They do. That happens for me because we just can't predict every single thing that is going to happen. That's what the emergency fund is for. But having that budget makes you feel in control and very educated as you go into the different decisions that you're making about your business. So doing that budget. And if you don't know how to do it, we're going to learn how to do it together at Tastemaker.
I love it. That's so exciting. So we have time for maybe one or two questions. So if there's anyone who has any questions live here, we can answer those. One thing Shannon said, Garrett had mentioned that one disadvantage when automating payments, some contract terms reset. Take, for example, Xfinity internet contract, which can reset from 60 or so per month up to 200. And so he was just kind of mentioning that. What are your thoughts on that?
I am with Garrett on that because that happened to me with Xfinity. It's so maddening. And then I went in and like camped in their lobby for a couple of days because they would not refund me, but they did eventually. But that takes too much time, to your point. So on those kinds of things, you're going to want to do a check-in. So you know how we talked about every couple of weeks you're doing a check-in. If you know that Xfinity agreement is coming up in a month or something, just set a to-do for yourself in your calendar to get in and check it. Make sure they didn't jack that up on you because they probably will.
Good to know. Lisa wants to know if there is a financial tracking software that you recommend for beginners.
Sure. You know what? I really like Mint. It's very simple. It's intuitive. It can be more robust for you if you want it to be, but I feel like it's a great place to start. I really like it. I can throw out another thing for you all as well that I just learned in the last 2 weeks from my bookkeeper, tax professional, who is also a strategist on our team for bloggers as well, for taxes and filings and all of those things. And she told me to try the app Mile IQ. So it tracks my drives. And I know that you all are driving, to get food or go to meetings or go to lunches with other bloggers and things like that. And it can be hard to remember. I love this app because every time you stop the car, it pops up and says, was that drive business or personal? And all you do is swipe.
Nice. Mile
And it
I
keeps track of the miles and how much money you're going to get from a tax deduction. So it's very cool.
That's helpful because I haven't even tracked miles because I'm like, not worth it. We should. So
I was a skeptic. And then when Naomi told me about it, I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. And let me tell you, I am sold. I'm up to I've only been doing it for 2 weeks. I'm up to like $356 that I
wow.
can write off in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's
I
worth it.
okay. Thank you.
Mile IQ.
Mile IQ. Okay, I just got it on my phone too. I love that. It says they have $10 billion reimbursed. Wow, that's impressive. So, all right, good one. So before we close, are there any other questions that we can answer while we're here? And if not, you can reach out to Shannon. I am going to ask her one last question. Let's see here. Okay, last question here for you, Shannon. If listeners take away just one financial tip from today's episode, what would you want it to be?
Oh, my friends, understand that financial planning is not a one size fits all thing. When I started working with bloggers years ago, I would have people come to me and say, oh, in this Facebook group, they're saying that I should do this. Or, this blogger's financial advisor said they should do that. That's fine. That's probably working for them and their situation, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so financial planning is a very personal thing. And, going back to that, think about yourself as an old person on the porch with your family around you and what kind of life do you want them to have? It's not going to be the same as your best friend who's also a blogger, right? And so you've got to be really careful about borrowing other people's plans and strategies and dreams and just making it your own because you're going to be able to get behind it when it's for you. Don't take financial advice from the person that cuts your hair or your next door neighbor who has all of their money tied up in real estate. Or, so, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like real estate as an investment, but you definitely want to make sure that you're tailoring your financial plan around yourself, and just know that someone else's ingredient is not going to taste the same in your batter.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this bonus webinar. It's been extremely insightful and motivating, and we are so excited to hear more from you at Tastemaker Conference in January. Shannon, where can our listeners get in touch with you if they'd like to chat further?
Sure. I would say you can email me. It's savery@Kingsview. That's the name of my firm, KINGSVIEW.com. Just Google Shannon Avery Financial Advisor. You're going to see it everywhere. I'm on Instagram at Bulls Bears Benjamins. I have a website. The website has all my socials on it as well. So if you just Google my name, you'll find me.
I love it. And if you'd like to take control of your finances and make sure every dollar counts in your food blog business, be sure to buy your ticket to Tastemaker Conference 2025 ASAP. We'll drop that link one more time before we sign off today, and it will be in the show notes for everyone who's watching or listening to the replay. I believe we only have a couple tickets left, which we'd sold out. We'd sold out of all 500, and we opened a few more because so many people were interested, which we have not ever done before beyond that number, because we deliberately keep it to that amount for a reason. But we're excited to welcome more people to Tastemaker Conference in January. And lastly, don't forget to tune in for episode 17 of Tastemaker Talk on Wednesday, where we'll be talking with Casey Marquis about SEO must-dos. You can RSVP for that in the Tastemaker Collaborative. We hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Shannon.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.